Hi everyone and welcome to Bonnie Astrology. Today I'm going to be talking about the full moon in Capricorn, which is happening on the 10th of July 2025, and what it means for your zodiac sign. So as always, if you do enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up to let me know that you like it. Subscribe to the channel for regular astrology content from me, and if you want to follow me on any of my socials or visit my website, it's all listed in the description box below. So this full moon in Capricorn is happening on the 10th of July, and that means that you're most likely going to be feeling the effects of this full moon from around the 7th to the 13th of July. That's when it is most potent, that's when it is most intense, and that is the time where events are likely to unfold connected to this full moon. But we can feel the effects of a full moon up to a week after and before most intensely. It is a time of illumination. Full moons bring peak experience, so something may be manifesting under this full moon. Events may be unfolding in the Capricorn part of your chart, but more generally when it comes to career, when it comes to purpose, when it comes to goals, when it comes to authority, leadership, governments, societal structures with the sign of Capricorn, you might notice that there are a lot of intense emotions surrounding leadership under this full moon, or surrounding government, or surrounding our social structures, with this full moon being in Capricorn. But as I said, more generally, you might notice people changing careers. You might notice people achieving significant milestones or goals in their life. The full moon in Capricorn emphasizes the energy of achievement and our goals. And this, as I say, can be a time when you notice that maybe in the workspace, your boss is making a change, your CEO is making a change. They might be rolling something out. There might be a peak experience in your job personally, or you might notice other people around you are changing jobs, getting promotion, leaving jobs, all that type of stuff. Or more generally, because Capricorn is not always linked to the job that we do, it's more linked to our life's work and our purpose more generally. So whatever goals are most important to you in this lifetime can be highlighted under this full moon. Now, of course, when we have a full moon, the sun and the moon are in opposite signs, meaning that we need to tend to that particular axis and we need to bring some sort of balance back into our life. So because it's Cancer season, you might notice that you're more home and family focused, or people around you are more generally home and family focused. People might be a little bit more private, a little bit more sensitive, and maybe in this space of coziness and wanting to be at home, or wanting to be wrapped up in a blanket, or wanting to spend time with your family. Or just making your home environment a lovely space to be. You know, Mars is in Virgo. Maybe you are reorganizing under this full moon. Maybe you're deep cleaning or decluttering under this full moon, or you're making your home more productive and more organized to cause less stress. Just be mindful with Mars in Virgo. It can also cause accidents cleaning. I was rearranging my shoe collection and I dropped a shoe right onto my toe and it really hurt. So just be mindful that Mars in Virgo can bring accidents and injuries while cleaning. Just, take that into consideration. Though it's in a harmonious aspect with this full moon, Mars in Virgo is actually trining the full moon in Capricorn. But yes, you might be balancing your work, your public life with your home and your private life, and trying to find some sort of recalibration if one area of life is off with the other. Of course, this balance can be achieved maybe working from home, or this balance can be achieved by adapting your schedule with Mars in Virgo, something like that. It also is worthwhile redefining more generally your relationship or your definition to success. What would be successful for you? Because it is so unique and different to everybody. And with Uranus changing signs in July, there's going to be a little bit more of a rebellious, I don't care what the status quo is, I don't care what society thinks, with Uranus rolling into Gemini and that shift coming in. Because when an outer planet changes signs, it can be quite loud. So reconsidering what your definition of success is. Now, this full moon, the dispositor is Saturn in Aries, and that means that when it comes to our work and our career, or our goals, or our purpose, or what we deem to be successful personally, it's very independent and it's very personal to you, because Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. It represents the self. And Saturn is in a conjunction, still in that very close, though not exact conjunction, to Neptune in Aries, meaning that with Saturn in retrograde at the time of this full moon, you're reconsidering what is ideal for you. You're reconsidering what matters. You're reevaluating your vision. With Neptune, you're reevaluating what would be ideal in your current circumstances, and that can change, that can develop over time. You're reconsidering as well your fantasies and your illusions, where maybe you've been a little bit deluded on a particular goal. And by that I mean, I'm not saying that something's not achievable to you, but maybe you've been deluded in the way that you've been going about it. Maybe there's been no practical effort with Saturn, or maybe it's been all daydreams with Neptune. With those two planets connected, it is important to honor both. You know, it's important to have that daydream, that fantasy, but it's also important to put some effort into achieving it. You know, nothing is achieved without effort. So yes, you're reevaluating with Saturn retrograde in Aries conjunct Neptune, Saturn being the dispositor. You're reevaluating your vision, your fantasies, your illusions surrounding your goals and surrounding your achievement. So that can be something that's coming up at the time of this full moon. And it can also be that particular energy can be directed to world leaders, to people in positions of authority, to structures, to government. There can be this still ongoing with Saturn and Neptune, this clash and conflict surrounding ideals, surrounding what is right and what is wrong, and reevaluating the people that are in power, reevaluating the people selected to power or the people that have just claimed it, sort of reevaluating who's in charge here. And obviously with Pluto being in Aquarius, Pluto's going to be quite active in July with the new moon in Leo opposite Pluto coming up 2 weeks after this full moon. There can be a lot of, and Mercury retrograde in Leo as well, there can be a lot of reevaluation and rethinking. A lot of information can come out about leaders. There's two signs we think of when we think of leadership and hierarchy. That would be Capricorn, but it would also be Leo. So this month can be quite pivotal when it comes to leadership in general. But in a personal note, as I say, this is about reevaluating your goals, reevaluating what's important to you, your purpose, reevaluating your mission, reevaluating what you're working on at this particular time. And that trine to Mars and Virgo, as I say, it's really grounding, it's really earthy, and it really helps you put in the practical effort, whether you need to organize, whether you need to perfect, whether you need to make something healthier. Mars and Virgo is all about making healthy choices, taking actions that align with our greatest good when it comes to our health, when it comes to well-being, but also when it comes to our work and also when it comes to our routine. This might be a full moon where you're thinking, okay, I want to achieve this goal. How are my routines getting me there? How are my habits getting me there? And making a plan, formulating a plan. Or with Saturn in retrograde, rethinking a goal, re-strategizing or recommitting as well, or considering if you have the right level of discipline in your life. But overall, I actually quite like this full moon. I think it's one where it's a great time to rethink, to reflect, to reevaluate when it comes to our goals because of that Saturn retrograde energy. But that conjunction to Neptune brings this sort of sense of what would be ideal, what would be the best case scenario, and what can I do to get there. So as always, I'm going to pull a tarot card for this full moon and see what we have. If you have any personal placements, forgot to mention this, but if you have any personal placements at 17, 18 or 19 degrees of Capricorn, because this full moon is happening at 18 degrees of Capricorn, you are most impacted by this full moon. If you have 17, 18, 19 degrees of Aries, Libra or Cancer, you will also be feeling this full moon quite impactfully. So, ooh, Knight of Cups. Romantic. This full moon could actually bring some sort of a romantic goal towards people. The Ten of Wands is underneath, so there's this sense of duty, there's this sense of work. This is actually giving me the vision of all work and no play. So it's finding balance between work and play. It's finding balance between career and home life. It's finding balance between your social life and your work life. It kind of is giving me the sense of following your heart on a goal, following your heart when it comes to what it is that you want to achieve. And this makes sense with Jupiter in Cancer. A lot of it is about emotional satisfaction, I think. So with this particular card, I'm getting the sense that this full moon could be very much about following your heart, following your passions. Neptune is a very romantic energy, and with it being in a close conjunction to Saturn, it does give me the sense of don't quit your daydream. That kind of energy here, you know, it's like putting in the effort to make it happen, not letting it all be fantasy, not letting it all be illusion. Finding a balance between the dream and the practical efforts is what I'm getting from this full moon in Capricorn. So that is what I have for the full moon. Hope you guys have a great one. The timestamps are listed below for your zodiac signs, and I will talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Aries, welcome to your full moon in Capricorn horoscope. So Aries, this full moon is happening in your professional space. It's happening in your 10th house. The 10th house, it represents our goals, it represents our work, it represents our public image and our purpose. So this full moon can be highlighting a key goal in your life. Maybe you're reaching a milestone with a goal. Maybe there is a highlight coming to your career. Maybe you're getting promoted, maybe you're changing jobs, maybe you're retiring, maybe there's a change in your social status and your public image. So that could be you're getting a new title, or you are putting out something publicly that's very personal to you. It can also be that this is representing a goal or achievement that you've been working on, that you've been putting in the effort to achieve, and it's highlighting these areas for you. So you might find yourself very in the spotlight, Aries, and if you want to take advantage of that, this full moon is the time to do so. You're more visible. So say you wanted to get a promotion, or say you wanted a job change, you're sort of front and center and visible to the people that can help you, the people that need to see you in order for you to move up with a goal. Now, what's interesting about this full moon is that the dispositor Saturn is in your sign, so it's very personal to you. It's very personal to the work and efforts that you've been putting in. Your ruler Mars is in the 6th house in harmony with this full moon. So it really feels for a lot of you Aries like you might be rewarded in some way for a job well done or your efforts. Now, it may also be that something is highlighted at this time professionally or with a goal, and it's making you reevaluate, as Saturn is about to go retrograde in your sign, reevaluate your efforts, reevaluate your boundaries, reevaluate your restrictions when it comes to your careers or your goals. So you might have to put some boundaries in place with work. You may have to put some boundaries in place when it comes to your own efforts with your personal energy levels. You might have to do what is best for your health with a goal. Mars being in the 6th house, this can also be that you're reaching some sort of health goal or achievement, and or there's something being illuminated when it comes to your health and your efforts, and it's inspiring you to maybe make some changes and reevaluate how you take care of yourself and how you look after yourself. Saturn going through the 1st house, it does tend to be an energy that coincides with prioritizing health in your physical body and prioritizing yourself and having to put boundaries in place. It can make you really determined to stick to a schedule, a routine, or it can make you more disciplined. And I think for a lot of you, if that's something you've been doing, you will see at the time of this full moon that that pays off. But if you see that the results are not quite what you want, you may decide to make some amendments or some changes and sort of fine tune your efforts and your the effort that you're putting in to what it is that you want. I do think for a lot of you this could be very positive professionally though, because there is that trine to Mars in the 6th. So if you've been working hard, it does seem to lead to some sort of achievement or completion of a goal. Similarly, if it's been to do with health, this full moon is highlighting your efforts. And if so, if there is something that you don't like about this, you feel disillusioned with the conjunction to Neptune from Saturn, you may decide to make amendments, as I say, and really focus on what is realistic for you. So let's get you a tarot card, Aries. Oh, they all fell out. Let's get you a tarot card for this full moon. We have the Star. I love this. I really feel like a lot of you are going to be in the spotlight. I think a lot of you are going to get recognition. I think a lot of you are going to be achieving something. I feel for a lot of you this could even be significant recognition, maybe you're getting your picture in the paper, maybe you're getting your picture up on a billboard. It'd be so different for everybody, but it feels like you're getting some sort of recognition that's making you feel like you're having your 15 minutes of fame if you're not already famous, that kind of thing. The Star is all about wish fulfillment and feeling as well like you're maybe healing when it comes to looking after yourself as well. The Star is an energy of healing too. But I do think for a lot of you this could be achievement. That is what I have for you, Aries, and I will talk to you soon. Hi Taurus, welcome to your full moon in Capricorn horoscope. So Taurus, this full moon, it's happening in your ninth house, and this is about adventure. So a full moon in the ninth house, it can coincide with taking a trip or an adventure. It can be a time where if you're not taking a trip or an adventure, you're planning one. For some of you, the trine to Mars in the fifth, you could be traveling for love, for romance, for dating, or if you have children that live abroad, you could be traveling to see them, or if you have kids, you could be traveling with them. And it can also be that you're traveling just for fun, for play, for enjoyment, with Mars going through the fifth house. For some of you, this can highlight your university, college education. This could be getting a degree, finishing your dissertation. This could be getting clarity about what you want to study, getting clarity about matters of education. And it feels like for a lot of you, there could be some sort of party or event attached to this, some sort of celebration attached to this, possibly with Mars going through the fifth, or attending some sort of fun event with your fellow students or something of that nature. Now, it can also be with this full moon that you're getting clarity on your beliefs more generally, and this is something that you really want to be healthy for your heart, something that's healthy for your soul, something that really resonates with you emotionally, where you feel as though you're connected mind, body, and soul with your beliefs. And maybe Taurus, you're thinking about your beliefs more generally. And this can also be a time with the dispositor of this full moon, Saturn, being in Aries. This can be that you're perhaps getting a higher perspective on some healing that you've been doing behind the scenes, some work that you've been doing behind the scenes. Saturn going through the 12th house often coincides with a time where we're doing an awful lot of hard work that nobody sees. You know, this can be where you're putting in so much effort behind the scenes. People don't necessarily see it. People don't necessarily see how hard you're working on healing or working on past traumas or even just working on something privately. This can be a time where nobody sees that. And I think with this full moon, perhaps you're getting some clarity or a higher perspective on these matters, Taurus. I'm going to get you a tarot card for this full moon as well. I like it as well. If you do have a personal placement, you know, a Taurus placement or an earth placement at 18 degrees, you'll really feel the harmony of this full moon. It is an earth sign full moon, and it is trining Mars in an earth sign as well, so it's quite complementary for you. So I feel like there's a harmony going on with it, where you feel as though if you're getting a higher perspective, if you're seeing the bigger picture, or if you're making travel plans or travel arrangements, or there's matters surrounding your education going on, I think for a lot of you, you may be finding this one really quite positive, especially if it's a travel goal that you're working on. Interestingly, Taurus, your tarot card was Judgment. So the ninth house is associated with legalities. Maybe for some of you, this is the peak moment in a legal matter. Maybe there is a verdict, maybe there is a resolution, maybe there's some new information coming to the fore when it comes to legalities. And this could be news or information that seemingly comes out of nowhere with Saturn about to go retrograde in your 12th. And this may lead you to reprioritize or reconsider the efforts that you are putting in behind the scenes, or if you need to end something, you know, if there's something that's no longer working for you, that's self-sabotaging you, this might be a time when you get that higher perspective and you find a way to work it out. Judgment does have connections to the legal system, so for some of you that could be what it is. With this being a full moon, think back 6 months, was something beginning for you legally, or were there legal matters pending? But for others of you, the judgment can be about realizations. And I suppose with a full moon in the ninth, these realizations may pertain to your education, they may pertain to travel plans, or they may even pertain to your beliefs, Taurus. That is what I have for you. I hope you have a good one, and I will talk to you soon. Hi Gemini, welcome to the full moon in Capricorn horoscope for your sign. Gemini, this full moon is happening in your 8th house. Now, a lot of people are quite scared of the 8th house because it contains themes such as death, rebirth, taxes, other people's money, emotional baggage, trauma, patterns, and fears. So, this full moon can be illuminating any of these matters for you. It can be, though, illuminating your fear surrounding the future. So, this full moon is ruled by Saturn. Saturn is in your 11th house, about to go retrograde. Sometimes, with a full moon in the 8th, there can be some sort of crisis going on that is disturbing you or upsetting you, and this could be something that is external to you, an event, something that's happened, or it can be something personal within where the full moon is triggering you and triggering these fears. It can also be for some of you that the full moon is simply highlighting joint financial arrangements such as mortgages, debts, loans, and these matters are highlighted under the full moon. Because of Saturn in the 11th, as I said, about to go retrograde, you may be reflecting on your commitments and your plans for the future. You know, what the future is going to look like. And sometimes when Saturn first enters that house, you can feel kind of pessimistic about the future, and you can start to really commit to rectifying it or course correcting if you feel like you're not going in the best direction. And this full moon can be a bit of a turning point for you, Gemini, where you realize you need to reprioritize something or recommit to something to have a better future. Obviously, there can be some sort of crisis going on in your life. You might be very worried about something. You might be feeling very triggered by something going on, events going on. Your ruler Mercury is about to go retrograde a week after this full moon, so your ruler's in shadow, meaning that you may naturally be feeling a little bit like you're wanting to slow down, you're wanting to reflect. And with Saturn being in your 11th house, I think for a lot of you, you're really wanting to commit to a new vision. You know, Aries is a very new, fresh energy. In the 11th house, you're wanting to recommit to a new vision. Something that feels more ideal for you, and that could be triggered by events transpiring under this full moon. Now, honestly, sometimes full moons in the 8th can really pass us by without being wildly impactful. It is a hidden house, so sometimes it can just be that you have a lot going on underneath the surface. You're maybe sort of noticing some old fears, some old triggers, some old phobias come to the surface to be released. It is in this lovely trine to Mars in Virgo, which for you, Gemini, is the 4th house. So there's maybe been some drama when it comes to your family or when it comes to your home or your living situation with Mars. You may have had to put more energy into your family. You may have had to put more energy into your home. And under this full moon, maybe you feel like there's a buildup of energy and you're sort of releasing it, and you maybe feel better after a good cry or something with a full moon in the 8th as well. You know, you're sort of letting your emotions come up or come to the surface. I'm going to get you a tarot card, Gemini. We have the 7 of Swords. I think for a lot of you, and actually at the bottom of the deck we have Death. I think for a lot of you there might be fear of endings. There might be fear of something. Maybe some of you are feeling with the 8th house, maybe some of you are feeling a bit paranoid or a bit suspicious of someone or something, or you're feeling a bit triggered by somebody else's behavior. That can be one way that this is working out, Gemini. You know, Uranus is going into your sign on the 7th, so by the time this full moon is in play, Uranus will be in your sign. So you may be feeling the need to break free from anything or anyone that you deem to be a sabotaging influence in your life. That's what I have for you, Gemini, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Cancer, welcome to the full moon in Capricorn horoscope for your sign. So Cancer, this full moon is happening in your 7th house of relationships, meaning that your partnerships are in the spotlight at the time of this full moon. So whether it is a spouse, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, whether it is a best friend, whether it's a business partner or an exceptionally close relationship in your life, this full moon is highlighting one of those relationships. So you might notice that something comes to your attention when it comes to a close relationship. You might be having more one-on-one time with somebody or spending this full moon with someone else, Cancer. Now it is ruled by Saturn, and Saturn is about to go retrograde in your 10th house. So you could actually be finding under this full moon that something's coming up with a business partnership or professional relationship or a relationship of yours that is quite public for whatever reason. So that could certainly be the spouse. You might find under this full moon that you're going to reevaluate how public a relationship should be, how public you want a relationship to be, or you may be reevaluating your professional relationships as well. Cancer. This can also be that you're maybe going public with a relationship too, or you're collaborating with somebody on a professional project or a goal. You know, it doesn't actually have to be a professional work goal. It could be a goal that you're working on with your partner. It could be a goal that you're working on. Maybe it is a health and fitness goal. Maybe it is a housing goal. Whatever the case may be, it feels as though you may be teaming up with somebody or working on something with somebody, with this full moon in Capricorn highlighting your relationships. The full moon is in a trine to Mars in Virgo, which is your 3rd house. So this is really highlighting your communication, and with Mars going through there, that can bring about spats. It can bring about heated conversations. You could find that people around you, they sound a bit more irritated, or you sound a bit more irritated and they notice that. Sometimes it can bring a bit of verbal conflict. The harmonious trine suggests that there may be a productive conversation going on at this time, a productive dialogue between you and another person where you feel like you're very direct with your communication, you feel like you're very clear with your communication, Cancer. But I do think if there is a professional partnership in your life, a goal may be realized under this full moon, and then you may reflect on your efforts. You may reflect on your professional boundaries. You may reflect on your professional relationships. And I would suspect with Saturn about to go retrograde in that sector, you're reflecting more generally on your working goals, on your personal goals, and on your partnership goals. There may be a bit of a realization under this full moon that you want a relationship to go in a certain direction, or you may be wondering if you and your partner are aligned on goals, or you and a current relationship of some sort in your life are aligned on your goals, Cancer. But this can be a time where a relationship goes official, goes public, or a milestone is reached in a relationship. Or you could meet somebody romantically, like a romantic partnership through your work or your career. That can be one way that this happens as well. So Cancer. Ah yes, you got the Knight of Cups. That's lovely. That's a proposal for some, a romantic gesture, some sort of romantic declaration in a partnership, falling in love with somebody new, somebody asking you out. That's quite an exciting card to get if you're looking for love or if you want a relationship to progress to the next level. That's what I have for you, Cancer, and I will talk to you soon. Hi Leo, welcome to the full moon in Capricorn horoscope for your sign. Leo, this full moon is highlighting your health sector. So under this full moon, you might find that your health is where you're focusing your energy and your attention. So a full moon in the 6th can oftentimes show us where we're at with our routines, how we're eating, how we're exercising, how we're nourishing ourselves, how we're looking after ourselves, and how our routines are or are not serving us. So this is a peak moment. Maybe if you've been working on a health and fitness goal, maybe you have been committed to some sort of task or responsibility over the last 6 months, this full moon can really highlight your efforts. and you might be noticing some sort of milestone or achievement when it comes to a health goal of yours, or even a work goal. If you've been working with your co-workers or you've been working with employees, this full moon can highlight those relationships as well. And it can be that there are changes in the workplace for you, Leo. So if you have colleagues, a colleague could be leaving the workplace. If you have employees, someone could be leaving. Emotions could be running high with colleagues and employees as well. There is a harmonious trine to Mars in your second house though, so I feel for a lot of you, if you've been working hard on making more money, or you've been putting your energy or efforts towards making more money, this full moon could highlight a job that helps you perhaps improve your financial situation. Or you could be reaching a health or fitness goal that helps improve your confidence, because Mars in the second house is also to do with confidence. So you might find that something you're putting a lot of effort into is coming to fruition and it's boosting your self-esteem. The dispositor of this full moon is Saturn in the 9th, and obviously in Aries energy is harmonious to you. It's a fellow fire sign. Saturn going through this sector can sometimes feel a little bit like you maybe don't want to travel as much, you maybe don't want to travel abroad at this time, or you could be very committed to study or committed to your education. And this full moon might highlight a working situation with those areas. So for some of you, perhaps there's a job coming up or a job change coming up that might require you to travel, or you're reflecting on if you want to travel as much with your career. Or you're reflecting on if you need to get an education for this job, or if you need to go back to school, or if you need to study more, or if you need to maybe reassess your spiritual beliefs and your principles. These things can come up under this full moon. For some of you, it could just be changing jobs. For some of you, it could be reaching a milestone in a job of yours. For some of you, it could just be making sure that you're on track with a health and fitness goal, or generally speaking, looking after your wellness. Because the sun is going through your 12th house, Leo, it's important that you get lots of rest. It's important that you recharge. It's important that you take your downtime and your alone time to rest. And this full moon is really saying that if you've maybe been too MIA, you've been too private, you've been too hermity, this full moon is asking you to sort of socialize with your colleagues, your co-workers, go to the gym, Or it can be that maybe it's highlighting where the opposite is true, where you're maybe not resting enough and you're working very hard in a particular project. Maybe this project or a work goal is coming to fruition and now you can rest and take some downtime. Let's get you a tarot card, Leo. We have the Ace of Wands. I love that. That's a spark. That is a spark. That's feeling passionate about something. Maybe this full moon is bringing to your attention your passion towards your job, or your passion towards your fitness, or your passions towards looking after your health. It might be bringing you a bit of an energy boost as well, Leo, with the Ace of Wands. Or you may be having some sort of idea, some sort of creative spark, some sort of something that's piquing your interest, something that is energizing you, which is nice because, as I say, this full moon is in a trine to Mars. Mars is going through your second house, so you might have a financial spark, or you may have something you're working on that's really taking your interest at this time, Leo. That's what I have for you, and I will talk to you soon. Hi Virgo, welcome to the full moon in Capricorn horoscope for your sign. Virgo, this full moon is happening in your 5th house, meaning that it is highlighting fun, pleasures, it's highlighting matters of the heart, it's highlighting pregnancy and children, it's highlighting your creativity. So these matters can come to the fore under a full moon in the 5th house. So you could be attending a party, a social gathering, the theatre, a concert under this full moon. Matters pertaining to romance could come up under this full moon, love affairs, or matters pertaining to your children. Sometimes pregnancies coincide with full moons in the 5th house, conception or birth, or realization of. And what's interesting about this is that the full moon, because it's in Capricorn, it's ruled by Saturn in the eighth. So Saturn's about to go retrograde in your eighth house, and when Saturn goes through the eighth house, generally, a lot of the work that we're doing is pertaining to our fears, working through trauma, working through emotional baggage. Because the full moon's in the fifth, this can be about childhood trauma. It can also be to do with fear of intimacy, fear of connection, any wounding, attachment style wounding surrounding romance and dating. These matters can sort of influence whatever's going on in your love life or whatever is happening for you under this full moon. You're reflecting and doing the work on those areas, and this full moon might be showing you how that area of life is changing for you because of the work that you're doing in the eighth house. This can also be a time where perhaps, if you're finding out you're pregnant, or you're finding out that you're going to have a baby, or you're giving birth, this can bring up some sort of reflection when it comes to, as I say, the past, how you were raised, how you were brought up, and you can be reflecting on how that's affecting your parenting or your soon to be parenting, or your feelings surrounding having children. This can also be a time where just generally you are wondering whether or not with the fifth house to take some sort of creative risk, or enter some sort of creative endeavor. And with Saturn going through the eighth house, this might be something that you are reconsidering your financial obligations and commitments. So if you have debt, if you have loans, if you have mortgages, Saturn going retrograde in the eighth is where you start to reflect on your limitations pertaining to those things. Some of you might be very committed to paying off debt, or you might be taking your joint financial relationships really very seriously, or you and a spouse may be considering, do we have the finances to have another baby, or do we have the finances to take this creative risk? Or you may be, as I say, reflecting on your psychological state and how that's affecting you in matters of the heart. Maybe you're wanting to go out dating again, but Saturn in the eighth is saying, I have some patterns that I want to work on here as well. So that can be something that's coming up, especially because Saturn is conjunct Neptune, and Neptune is the modern ruler of your seventh house of relationships. You could definitely be committed to something financially with a partnership, taking your finances very seriously with your partnership, or, figuring out how your emotional baggage, emotional trauma is affecting how you connect with others, and this full moon is certainly highlighting that. Just bear in mind, Virgo, it is in a fellow earth sign, so it's very compatible with you. It is also in this lovely trine to Mars in your sign, so you might be feeling quite brave, quite energized, quite passionate. With the full moon in the fifth, you might be feeling quite energized and passionate to take a risk, but it is asking you to, be responsible about it. It is in Capricorn, so your risks aren't usually that wild. Your risks are usually quite calculated with a Capricorn fifth house, so you might be taking a calculated risk at this time, Virgo. Let's get you a tarot card and see what comes up for you. We have the Knight of Cups. This came up for somebody else. I think it was Cancer. The Knight of Cups can bring love and romance to the fore. It's very appropriate for a full moon in the fifth. Some of you could be falling in love, meeting a new love interest. Some of you could be proposing or being proposed to. Some of you, as I say, could be meeting somebody, or some of you could be taking the relationship to the next level. Or if it's nothing romantic, it could be an artistic or creative endeavor that's really making your heart sing, Virgo. That is what I have for you, and I will talk to you soon. Hi Libra, welcome to the full moon in Capricorn horoscope for your sign. So Libra, this full moon is happening in your 4th house, which is highlighting matters pertaining to your home, your family, your living situation, your living environment, your living space, and also the past. So the full moon is highlighting these areas. It can be quite a nostalgic full moon for you Libra, where you're coming together with family, you're reuniting with family, you're maybe nesting, you're maybe making your home more cozy, you're maybe working on the home, you're maybe feeling a little bit more insular and a little bit more private and a bit quiet under this full moon. Potentially for some of you it's really about spending time with your home and your family, or spending time in the home or with your family. Sometimes full moons in the 4th, they can coincide with a move, they can coincide with a relocation, they can coincide with redecorating or changing the energy in your living space, or changes in who you're living with, or it can just, as I say, highlight family matters. It is ruled by Saturn in your 7th house of relationships. So Saturn going through your relationship sector, it tends to be a time where you really look at your close relationships and assess whether they have durability, whether they're going to last for a long time, whether they can last for a long time. Maybe you're thinking of committing deeper. It's very normal for people to get married when Saturn goes into their 7th house, especially if they've passed their Saturn return. But it can be a time as well of testing relationships, and if they're not working, it can be a time of letting them go. Saturn's about to go retrograde in this area, so you might be reflecting on your partnerships or your relationships, especially if you live with that person, or whether or not you want to live with that person. So maybe some of you are committing to a partner by moving in together. Maybe some of you are committing to getting along better with your partner's family, or vice versa. Maybe some of you are visiting your partner's family. But with Saturn retrograde in that sector, you're generally looking at your relationships and figuring out where you need better boundaries, or where you need to commit. And I think this seems to be coming into the context of living situations and family matters. You know, maybe you and your partner are reviewing whether or not you want to have a family, or whether or not you want to expand your family, or how you're parenting. You know, those different types of things can come up with this full moon. There's a lovely trine to Mars and Virgo from this full moon. And for you, Libra, that is your efforts that you're putting in behind the scenes, or the energy that you're putting in behind the scenes as well. So maybe for some of you, this is just simply a full moon that you want to spend time at home, to sleep, to rest, to recharge. You kind of feel like you're favoring your private life at the time of this full moon. Mars going through the 12th house can sometimes coincide with sleep disruptions and a bit of insomnia here and there sometimes, but it can be a time where we're a bit more low energy, and it's okay to just rest and chill at home. And you know, maybe you're finding that going at your own pace when it comes to your home or property or family matter is suiting you better, Libra. And let's have a look at your tarot. Ooh, we have the Wheel of Fortune. So there might be a sudden change coming in for you, Libra. I'm just thinking Uranus is going into Gemini for you. So maybe some of you are relocating. Oh, dropped the card. Maybe some of you are relocating abroad, or you're suddenly having to travel with your family, or you're suddenly having to move or change your home, or there could be some sort of fated event is coming up under this full moon. It's interesting with this card because it tends to represent significant change, and Jupiter is in your 10th house and the Sun is in your 10th house. So maybe for some of you as well, there's professional changes and you're having to balance that, professional expansion and changes, and you're having to balance that with your home and family. And this full moon is bringing you more into assessing your living situation and how much time you're spending with your family, how much time you're spending at home, or how helpful your living environment is to your relationships and your connections. That is what I have for you, Libra, and I will talk to you soon. Hi Scorpio, welcome to the full moon in Capricorn horoscope for your sign. So Scorpio, this full moon, it's going to be happening in your third house. So when we have a full moon in the third house, it brings to your attention communication matters. It brings to your attention siblings, cousins, aunts, uncles, your neighbors, your devices, your technology, your cars, your transport, etc. So there can be any one of these matters highlighted under this full moon, or maybe even all of them. But for some of you, this can be a time where there's an important message or an important communication coming to you, like a letter in the post, an email, a text message. Now, this could be to do with your health because this full moon is in Capricorn. The dispositor is Saturn in the 6th. And Saturn's about to go retrograde in the 6th. So a lot of you are coming to this turning point, coming to this point of reflection when it comes to your goals that you've been working on health-wise, your commitment to your goals, your commitment to your health, taking your health more seriously, working through taking your work more seriously, but also having better boundaries with yourself in terms of your diet, in terms of exercise, and also in terms of your job, having better boundaries with co-workers, having better boundaries with employees. Those can be matters that you're reflecting on at this point in time. And maybe with this full moon in the third house, you're having to verbally assert a boundary with these people or in this area, or you're having to send it via email or text or something. There can be an important communication coming up to your health or when it comes to your work. But I feel with this full moon, it's also highlighting your daily commute, how you get about. There might be something coming up with a car at this full moon. There might be something coming up with a gadget. Mercury is about to go retrograde in your 10th, so it could be that, and when I say about to, I mean a week later, but Mercury is in shadow. It could be how your transport is getting you to and from your job, or your commute to your job may be changing. And this full moon is maybe highlighting some issues with a car, a gadget, or it could be a time where it's not so much an issue, it's just highlighting it. Maybe you're getting a new car, maybe you're cleaning out your car. It can range in magnitude. It could also be that you're getting a gadget or a phone, upgrading your phone or something like that. I would advise, if you're doing that, to get it done before the 18th when Mercury does go retrograde. There is a trine from this full moon to Mars in your 11th house, so this could be triggering something social, a productive conversation with a friend, a productive conversation with a team, a productive conversation with a neighbor. And you could be finding that it's just easier to communicate to groups of people. It's just easier to communicate with your friends. Some of you could be reconnecting with your friends, having a reunion with your friends, and this full moon could be you arranging it and organizing it. With it being in the third house, it tends to be quite a mixed bag. The third house is a lot of different ways it can manifest. As you can hear, there's a lot of different things in there, but it could be bringing up your emotions as well, pertaining to sibling or extended family. Maybe you're going to some sort of social event with siblings or extended family as well. Let's get you a tarot card, Scorpio. We have the Sun. This is really positive. That's really joyful. There could be some positive news coming your way, Scorpio, or you could maybe be feeling that whatever efforts you're putting in health-wise, maybe they're really paying off when it comes to your mental health. Maybe they're really paying off when it comes to your mindset. Maybe they're really paying off when it comes to how you feel, your energy levels, your vitality. The Sun tends to be a very optimistic, hopeful, happy, energized card. And it feels with this full moon that maybe for some of you, you're really feeling excited to, oh yes, one of the other ways this can play out, can't believe I didn't mention this, full moons in the third, they can coincide with taking a trip, a short distance trip. And this could be a really fun occasion for you, Scorpio. That is what I have for you, and I will talk to you soon. Hi Sagittarius, welcome to the full moon in Capricorn horoscope for your sign. So Sagittarius, this full moon is happening in your second house, so it's highlighting your money and your financial affairs. So this full moon in Capricorn could coincide with some sort of payment. Maybe there's some sort of financial change going on for you. You could be paid for a job well done. You could be paid because of a promotion, a job change. You could be coming into some money at this time. And you could also just be doing a financial inventory where you're looking at your finances, you're reviewing your spending, you're reviewing the money that's coming in under a full moon in the second house. The dispositor of this full moon, it's Saturn in the fifth. So with Saturn going through the fifth house, it's often times where you're less likely to take a gamble or a risk. And this could be that maybe you're having to reevaluate your spending when it comes to your children, when it comes to your creative hobbies, what you do for fun, when it comes to the things that make you happy. And you're sort of looking at them and thinking, do these, should they be costing this much? Could I maybe budget better here? Maybe I should be spending less on this. Maybe there is some sort of way to make this cost less. It's that kind of financial review. With Saturn going through the fifth house, this can also be reviewing the money that you're spending on dating or romance. Or as I say, your creative hobbies and what you do for fun. You could just be reassessing. It's not about cutting it out altogether, but just reassessing the money that you're spending on these different types of areas, Sagittarius. The full moon is in a really positive trine to Mars in your 10th house. So for a lot of you, this could be a really positive financial shift when it comes to your career or your job. Mars going through the 10th house, you're putting in all this effort professionally, you're putting in all this work professionally. With Mars going through the 10th, and it may pay off financially with this full moon, or there may be an opportunity for something work related to manifest under this full moon that brings you more money or brings you some sort of positive financial reimbursement. I do think for a lot of you, with Saturn being the dispositor about to go retrograde, you're kind of reflecting on your financial goals generally. You're sort of reflecting on your financial spending, and very much through the context of how you spend money romantically, creatively, for fun, or on your children. Capricorn, this could be that maybe, you've just had a child, or you're getting pregnant and it's sort of affecting your budget and you're figuring out what that's going to look like going forward. Or it could be that you're investing in a creative hobby or project as well. Sagittarius, let's get you a tarot card and see what comes up for you. We have the Empress. Beautiful for a full moon in the second house. I think for a lot of you, there could be money coming your way that helps you feel quite abundant. Honestly, the Empress is a very positive omen. So there might be some luxury coming your way. You might be spending on a luxury item. You might be investing in a luxury item, or investing in something creative. You might be buying something very luxurious but very long lasting. It's like a silk blouse, or something that maybe costs a little bit more, but it's worth the money for you. It just feels like with the Empress, this is very luxurious energy for you, but it is also about pregnancy. So some of you could be, this financial situation could be to do with pregnancy or children for sure, Sagittarius. But not for all of you. It can be, creative, it can be romantic, what makes you happy, etc. That is what I have for you, Sagittarius, and I will talk to you soon. Hi Capricorn, welcome to the full moon in your sign. So Capricorn, this is your annual full moon. It's happening in your first house. So if you feel a little bit more sensitive, a little bit more emotional, a little bit more in touch with your feelings, this is why. This full moon can really be making you feel a little bit more emotional, or it can clarify your feelings on a few things. It might clarify your feelings on a living situation, family matters, the past, nostalgia, because the dispositor is Saturn in your 4th house. So a full moon in the 1st house can coincide with physical changes. This could be some changes to your physical body. You could be, under this full moon, really getting to grips with how you feel about your appearance, your style, your aesthetic, your approach to life. Maybe you're reevaluating if you've been taking it too seriously, or reevaluating if you're not taking it seriously enough. It's usually that you're taking it too seriously, but it could be the other way around. Some of you could be getting very serious or emotionally focused on a family or home goal. So Saturn retrograde in the 4th, a lot of the times this can coincide with some sort of commitment to family or some sort of commitment to home. So you could become a homeowner and you could be seeing what a big responsibility this is. You could be becoming a parent and you could be noticing what a big responsibility that is. You could be moving. There could be family members that you're very committed to, or you have to take on responsibility for, sometimes with Saturn going through the 4th, and your feelings might be coming to the fore here surrounding those matters as well. But the full moon is all about you at the end of the day, Capricorn, and how you feel and how you're doing and where your emotions are at. So if a lot of emotions come up under this full moon, that is why. Sometimes it's also harder to sleep when there's a full moon in our 1st house too. But this could be clarifying some personal goals for you. Maybe you have a personal goal or a personal wish of yours that you're working towards. And for some of you with Mars in the 9th house, this could be to study, this could be to take exams, this could be to pursue education. For others of you, this could be to pursue travel, this could be to pursue spiritual concepts, philosophical concepts, to read more, to become more educated. These could be all motivating factors for you and something that you're inspired to do under this full moon in your sign, Capricorn. I would say for you, use this full moon to reconsider what your personal definition of success is. Where do you want to be living? How do you want to be getting along with your family? What do you want to be studying? Where do you want to travel to? What would make you happy? Your ruling planet is conjunct Neptune, so it can be a little bit of an oscillation in mood sometimes, and it isn't always that clear. But with Neptune going retrograde in July, it feels as though you could be reevaluating what would be ideal for you home-wise, family-wise, or also sort of getting a very different perspective on the past. Maybe it no longer looks as rosy as it once did, or maybe it actually looks rosier than you thought before. It could be an unusual time for you when it comes to your perspectives in the past, when it comes to your perspectives on home and family and that kind of thing, Capricorn. Let's get you a card. Ace of Wands. This came up for somebody else. I think it was Leo. Ace of Wands is about sparks. What makes you happy? What sparks you up? What energizes you? What you feel excited about? What you feel adventurous about? Mars and Virgo, taking adventures, taking trips, even if they're not long distance, even if they're not abroad, they don't have to be, but just sort of what lights you up, a spark, just something that you feel called to try, something that you feel called to do with this full moon. The Ace of Wands is a fertility card as well, so maybe for some of you it's a pregnancy or a birth. Sometimes the 1st house does represent that because it is the physical body, but I think with this Ace of Wands it's really asking you, Capricorn, to see what sparks you up under this full moon. That's what I have for you, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Aquarius, welcome to the full moon in Capricorn horoscope for your sign. Aquarius, this full moon is happening in your 12th house, meaning that this full moon is occurring in your private sector, behind the scenes. And this full moon can really illuminate your dreams. You could be having some vivid, wacky, psychic dreams, maybe some premonitions, but not always. Sometimes dreams just simply reveal to us what's going on in our subconscious. So pay attention to your dreams. You might need to sleep more with a full moon in the 12th. you might be having some dreams, you know, say you dream about a person, they might want you to get in touch, or they might contact you, or they could be a significant person under this full moon, with a full moon in the 12th house. It can also be a time where maybe you feel a bit emotional, and some deep-seated emotions can be coming to light, and it can be quite cathartic to release them under a full moon. It can also be a time, full moons, I've seen it before, can reveal secrets to you. Something can come out of the woodwork with a full moon in the 12th house. Now, the full moon, the dispositor, is Saturn in your third. The secrets could be coming from a sibling, a neighbor, a cousin. They could be coming from your car. You could find that there's something that you need to fix with your car. There could be secrets coming out pertaining to travel arrangements, or just secretive information coming to the fore, or you could be having some sort of conversation that is a bit healing or cathartic, or triggers some forgiveness in your life, Aquarius. There's a lovely trine from Mars in the 8th, so as you can see from this full moon, there's a lot of psychological energy surrounding this one. It's quite a full moon for healing. With Mars going through the 8th house, this can be your desire to face a fear, to face a phobia, to pursue some sort of healing from something psychological, from something traumatic, or it can be, you know, maybe there's something coming up under this full moon pertaining to joint financial affairs that you didn't know as well. I don't think that this full moon's not inherently negative though, so I think for a lot of you this can be some sort of emotional release or catharsis that makes you feel better. Your ruling planet Uranus has just changed signs at the time of this full moon, and it's gone into the 5th house. So your motivating factors are love, romance, children, fun, pleasure, enjoyment. And it could be under this full moon that in order to allow new energies into your life, you have to release some of the old ones and sort of clear the path of any emotional residue that needs to come up due to past fears. And, you know, sometimes when you're putting your efforts into facing a fear or a phobia, or working through something emotionally, or working through an ending or loss potentially. Sometimes when you're working through these things, you can find that the most healing moments feel a little bit difficult, but you feel better from having them. So if that's a good cry, Aquarius, or if that's just needing more rest, needing more sleep in order to recalibrate, don't be afraid to, you know, take some time to yourself under this full moon. It can also be that you're just feeling more in touch with your spiritual side. You're feeling more in touch with your occult, mystical side. With Mars going through the 8th, maybe you're pursuing more knowledge when it comes to astrology, or reading tarot, or you're seeing psychics, or you're just entertaining mediumship or something like that, Aquarius. And this full moon is really highlighting that for you as an interest, and maybe giving you some very clear downloads or insights. It's kind of a woo full moon. So let's get you a tarot card and see what's coming up for you. Ooh, we have the 6 of Cups. That's to do with people from the past, or reconnecting with someone from the past. Interestingly enough, actually, Aquarius, Mercury, a week after this full moon, goes retrograde in your partnership sector. So some of you could be hearing from an ex, or dreaming of an ex, or reconnecting with someone from the past, past potential relationship, past partner, past best friend. Just somebody from your past may be reappearing rather soon, or you may be reconnecting with someone from the past in some way, shape, or form. So someone where there's been a disconnect or no communication for a while, you could be reconnecting with somebody, or going, you know, back to your homeland, or visiting your home, or something like that. That's what I have for you, Aquarius, and I'll talk to you soon. Hi Pisces, welcome to the full moon in Capricorn horoscope for your sign. So Pisces, this full moon is happening in your 11th house, and this is a very social house. This is your sector of social networking, this is your sector of your friendships, the groups that you're a part of, the teams that you're a member of, the societies, the clubs that you're in, and also your hopes and your aspirations for the future. So a full moon here is saying this is a time to socialize, this is a time to mingle. It's a time to network, it's a time to connect with your friends, go out with your friends, connect with other people. And full moons can really bring your emotions surrounding these matters to the fore. So maybe you're feeling very grateful to your friends, very committed to your friends. Maybe there's a team goal coming to fruition at this time, something you've been working on with a group coming to fruition at this time. Maybe you're just socializing with your besties, especially because there's this trine to Mars in the 7th, and Mars is connecting with the South Node, so you could be reconnecting with old friends under this full moon as well, reconnecting with past friendships, even partnerships as well, old partners or old close relationships with this full moon, even old professional partnerships as well under this full moon. But the dispositor of this full moon is Saturn, and Saturn is conjunct your modern ruler Neptune in your 2nd house, and Saturn is about to join Neptune in retrograde motion. So when it comes to the teams that you're a part of, when it comes to the clubs you are a part of, the memberships you have, the hopes and aspirations you have for the future, it is going to involve either financial reconsideration, reflecting on what you're paying for these clubs or the money that you're investing into these relationships, or it's reflecting on your self-confidence when it comes to these teams that you're a part of, or these friendships that you have, or these aspirations that you have for the future. Now, I'm not going to say it's certain, but I would think with Neptune conjunct Saturn, because Neptune is the modern ruler of Pisces, you could be feeling a little bit limited in self-esteem, maybe feeling a little bit limited in resources, or maybe just feeling a little bit lacking in self-confidence at the moment. And you may be reflecting on how to improve that, and maybe you need a confidence boost from your friends. Maybe you need to feel closer to people. Maybe you need to mingle with people without there being some sort of financial need or some sort of financial cost, or you don't necessarily want to be around groups of people that make you feel bad about yourself, obviously. So you're sort of reflecting on these themes. You might also be realizing under this full moon that it's not great to let a lack of self-confidence stop you from socializing or going to events. It might be better to go out and socialize and mingle even if you're not feeling 100% like yourself. You might not necessarily feel like the most confident person in the room, but it's still positive to go along and network and connect with other people, especially with that full moon being in the 11th house and trine to Mars in the 7th. You could connect with others quite well if you just allow yourself to be there, even if you don't feel like you have everything to offer, even if you don't feel like the richest in the room, the prettiest in the room, the most successful in the room. Sometimes it's still good to be around other people because they're probably not judging you as much as you're judging yourself. However, if you do feel like you're in groups and teams that you don't feel like you're appreciated, you might be reassessing it under this full moon for sure. Pisces, you might be focusing as well on just generally your goals and your aspirations and how you're doing with those. It might be one of those full moons where if you have a goal, if you have an aspiration, it helps to accept help from somebody else, to partner with someone on a goal, to partner with someone on something you really want to achieve, to work together to make it happen. For some of you as well, that could be with somebody from your past. As I say, Mars is gearing up to connect with the South Node in your 7th house of relationships. So maybe you're reconnecting with someone to meet a goal or an aspiration, or you're reconnecting with someone through socialization, networking, that kind of thing. But overall, Pisces, I think this is a very social full moon for you. It is obviously opposite Sun in the 5th house as well, so there can be more opportunities for social invitations and events at this full moon. Let's get you a tarot card, Pisces, for this full moon. Ooh, 10 of Pentacles. That's lovely. I think for a lot of you, you might have some financial goals that you're going to work towards, and I think this full moon can really highlight you some helpful ways to make better decisions long term financially with your goals. Saturn going through your 2nd house, Saturn ruling your 11th, traditionally speaking, it can be a time to, or just completely actually, sorry, I was thinking of Aquarius for a second there. Saturn rules your 11th house in totality. You could be thinking about your financial goals long term, and this can actually be a really wonderful time to set up a significant savings account or a nest egg for yourself, or work towards greater sustainable wealth and abundance in the future. People sometimes look at Saturn going through the second house as a time of no money or whatever, but in actuality, it can just simply be that you commit more to your finances, you become more frugal, you become more serious about your money, and you end up doing quite well as a result and seeing some great results. And the Ten of Pentacles is a reminder of that. So don't be afraid under this full moon to have some financial goals for your future as well, or to set some, or allow yourself to realize some. That's what I have for you, Pisces, and I'll talk to you soon.